changing pattern of the rain, and the main problem with the landslide is that it cannot be predicted. We have the vulnerability profile, but when the landslide will start, it is still scientifically not very clear. So Mizoram, Kedarnath was a serious landslide. There were deaths also. Our team were engaged in taking out the pilgrims from that area. And Shimla cloud burst had affected a lot of population also, and we were extensively engaged in that also. Next, please. So Bernard, it was extensively covered because of the nature of landslide. It had washed away many houses, villages, and helmets also. So this also shows that even prediction was there. Heavy rainfall prediction was there. Local public was aware that there will be heavy rainfall, and there was a rainfall going on. But that would result into a landslide of such a scale, it was not clear. So our team was stationed in Wayanad. Unfortunately, we responded within 30 minutes. Then a lot of state and central government machinery came into the rescue operation here. So one good thing which I had noticed during that visit, local community awareness program helps, because those some people who were aware of the warning, they had shifted from there, and their houses were totally washed away, but they were saved because of this warning system. They had moved out from that area, and otherwise more life could have been lost. Next, please. So flood is a regular problem during monsoon, and state governments have a coordination meeting with all the collectors, SDRF, NDRF in advance before monsoon, and we do deploy our NDRF team, which we call pre-deployment before flood starts, because we have the history of floods in certain districts, so that pre-deployment is already there. We had responded to some of the major flood situation in the country was in Imphal and Tripura, Gujarat. Imphal, it's not a regular feature, but last year there was a massive flood and they need reinforcement from outside, so our team had also gone there. Next, please. Andhra Pradesh flood, if you see that there was a breach in the river, and this whole almost a lot of city was submerged, and a lot of teams were sent for responding, and if you see 13 teams were airlifted, because considering the situation it was not possible to send the teams by road, so these teams had come with the boat and other equipments to rescue the citizen from the flood affected area. And this operation continued for some time, and this also shows the vulnerability of our city getting affected by urban flooding also. Next, please. Again, West Bengal, it was affected. 22 NDRF teams were engaged last year, and Bihar flood. Bihar also sees a recurrent flood. Bihar, eastern part of you, because of flood water coming from the Nepal side, or rain local rains also. Next, please. So when I talk about the flood, basically the deployment is for a very long duration, because it takes time and there is an evacuation. Then our team remains standby to assist the district administration. So that's a very long duration commitment for our force. So collapse, search and rescue operation, structural collapse search and rescue operation, or urban search and rescue operation in terms of building collapse. We have responded to many incidents. Some of the incidents have been highlighted here. Roopnagar in Punjab, where we could rescue 2 persons. Mumbai, again, this collapse of billboard, which was highlighted very extensively in the media. We were involved in rescue of 3 persons. Jharkhand building collapse, we had rescued 7 persons. So I would like to mention during the building collapse, it takes a lot of time to identify, search and get access to the building, because we have to cut the structure, steel structure, send a man or take out the victim from there who is already injured. So this is a job of lot of skill and patience to get the victims out of the danger zone safely. Next, please. Varanasi again, some of the incidents, photos have also been mentioned there. Varanasi, Karol Bagh, in Delhi, and these are the incidents where we were able to rescue those who were under threat or surviving inside the rubble. We were able to save victims also. Next, please. train accident, unfortunately, it's a very unfortunate situation, but we are trained to respond to train accident also. So Darjeeling, we had gone there, 3 teams were deployed, but that was not a major accident, and 3 dead bodies were retrieved also. Next, please. Borewell outs. Lot of some of the states which are predominantly affected are like Rajasthan, MP, UP, and very few incidents luckily in South India. But the life is only one person is affected, but the problem is that we are aware that the victim is alive, and how quickly and safely we can take out that live person or live child from the bowel remains a challenge. So we have done a lot of our own internal R&D. We have developed devices also which we use. No single device is a foolproof method, but we try to have all the options available with us and try to rescue the child which is trapped inside the bowel. Next, please. CBRN, this is a technical expertise. We do a lot of training, and we are really supported by the DRDO Department of Atomic Energy in Mars in Delhi. And we have a specialized trained team to respond to various gas leakage incidents. And some of the examples are we have responded to gas leakage, LPG gas leakage in Aurangabad, ammonia gas leakage at Jalpaiguri in 2024. Next, please. Next. Chemical leakage, where there was a fire in the factory also at Anakapalli, Andhra Pradesh, and CBRN team was also involved there. Next, please. So Mahakumbh, every 12 years, a lot of pilgrimage visit is there. So UP government has an extensive arrangement in terms of security, crowd control, law and order, and Ndrf has also been deployed because we have expertise in flood water rescue in terms of flood water. And secondly, for our CBRN incident, if any CBRN incident happens, so we are able to respond to that, to tap that incident from where this leakage of gas or anything is incident, or in case of requirement evacuation of victims from the area. So currently we have 20 teams deployed there as a huge deployment, and that's a very sensitive and very challenging task for us. Currently we are already engaged there. Next, please. So capacity building program, NDRF does a lot of capacity building program at state and district level. So we have target for all our battalions in terms of the school safety plan and community awareness plan, and we monitor those activities by the unit, and this also brings us closer to the community in the area also. Next, please. Some of the important areas working with our SDRF, Civil Defense, Soul Guard, Aapda Mitra, CADF, and volunteers. So apart from that, individual requests we also receive, institutional requests when we receive, we also examine and try to coordinate with them for capacity building also. Next, please. So some of the photographs of community awareness program and school safety program. Next. So mock exercise, roadway rescue, we are aware of the Devra incidents. After that, this has become National Disaster Response Force, NIDM, National Disaster Management Authority were also established so that there is a single point coordination for handling disaster in the country, and this was brought under the sphere of Ministry of Home Affairs. Next, please. So currently in India, we have three levels of three levels of power structure where disaster is being handled. At national level, Government of India, at the national level, we have different agencies which are responsible for this. And yes, primarily disaster is the state subject. The state has to respond to various type of disasters. So state has also now various structure in place under this Disaster Management Act, followed by at the learning from experience, our rescuers, they also do some genuine R&D, small innovations within the organization and battalion, that becomes very helpful for us during disaster operation. If we are not buying it from the market. So some of them have been highlighted here. Next please. So like this OBM machine for the boat is very heavy, so we need wheels. So we have made this wheel so that single rescuer can carry those heavy machines also. Next please. One good initiative NDRF has taken a lead, and maybe one of few pioneers in paramilitary force, is that we monitor body mass index of all our rescuers. So the objective is that rescuer has to be fit, not only fit, because if rescuer is not fit, then he won't be able to respond more effectively and strongly during the disaster situation, which itself is a very demanding challenge, depending upon the type of the disaster. So since the plan has been implemented, we have seen a drop in the BMI index, and most of the rescuers are in the range of the fitness level. So this is a case study where it shows that an organization follows and gives a premium to the fitness and creates an environment for body fitness, then how the rescuers' performance also increase in terms of maintaining good fitness. Next please. One good initiative which we had completed last year is that training need analysis was taken up with IIM Rohtak, and based on the outcome of that training need analysis, we have changed our training pattern, training curriculum, which is going to affect our training methodology or building the training capacity of NDRF also. Some case studies were also taken up during that review of the training content. Next please. So some booklets we have reviewed and published. Next please. Some SOPs. These are the new SOPs we had come out last year. Next. Forest fire, as I was discussing. So 3 teams have been created as a pilot project by NHA. 3 teams have been created as a pilot project by the NHA, but under the leadership of DG, we are also planning to enhance our capacity. So we will be taking many more teams and training them also, because forest fire response it requires a lot of manpower and long-term planning also. So that's a new chapter for us right now. Next please. We have a hazardous material vehicle. This is a new construction. It's a totally made in India. Bell has made it, and this has been acquired by India KG20 thing. We have currently 4 vehicles, and it's a totally capable of responding to any CBRN incident. So it's a vacuum seal, rescuers can sit inside and go to any environment to respond to CBRN incident and can take the victim out of it. Please. We are using operational one dashboard. We have named it as GATO. Basically, any movement of team for operational response is captured in that application, and centrally we are able to monitor the movement of team and what type of activities they are doing. It has been developed in coordination with BISEC. Next please. One initiative NHA has been supporting. We were deployed in Turkey, Japan, and India also in earthquake scenario. In Nepal we have worked, but we are trying to get the classification under the United Nations umbrella, which we call ISARA. Once we get that certificate, our team are officially certified for international deployment in case of earthquake. So if any building country wants help from India, we can officially go under this umbrella. Otherwise also we are trained of that level to respond to such incident, which we have done in the Turkey operation. Next please. Last year, every year we dedicate some objective. Last year it was a year of CBRN, where we focused on the CBRN capacity building of our NDRF and other agencies. We got engaged extensively how they can help us in building our CBRN capacity. Similarly, in 2025, we have declared ourselves as a year of training. So we have set targets for ourselves and how to engage other stakeholders with whom we work closely. Next, please. This is new. Currently, our dogs are trained to locate the live victim. They are not trained for the dead bodies. So now, with the initiative of the DG, we have taken up with Kerala and Tamil Nadu and training our dogs for the dead victims also, because in cases like landslide, it becomes very important to trace the dead victims also. Yes. We have done two important mountaineering expeditions as part of our fitness, as part of our response to high altitude evacuation also. So we take this adventure sports to keep ourselves trained and fit. Next, please. So we, as is done in all police forces, we have a healthy culture of sports and professional competition. And I would like to highlight this Goa Ironman competition, where in the Ironman competition, it's 1.9 kilometers swimming, followed by 90 kilometers cycling and 21 kilometers running. So our Ndrf team had secured very good position, and this second and third position was obtained age-wise. In paramilitary force, we had out of 10 in paramilitary force, we had got more than around 5 top rank in that. So we have done extremely well in that also. Please. Lactation drive, it's a target for all of us as citizens also, and LG is also doing it. So our battalions are extensively engaged in that. Millet, Government of India has been focusing on millet because that was a rural traditional food which has been displaced by the modern agriculture practice, and which has a lot of health benefits. So we have increased the intake within the organization also. Apart from that, beekeeping culture is also being introduced in India. So while doing these disaster operations, we risk our life also. And evidence is that we have lost some lives, those who are engaged in different type of disasters. So we also remember them during such time that they have been very brave heart while handling disaster. And this is a time to remember them also. Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We will have questions at the last, please. May I now request ED and NIDM to kindly make a representation on National Institute of Justice.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. I'm representing NIDM as its Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management. I'll just give a brief background of this evolution of this concept of capacity building in disaster management in this country. The first global event on disaster management that took place in 1994 was the Yokohama Conference, where India also participated. And in 1995, a small initiative was National Center for Disaster Management was created in the Ministry of Agriculture. And but this remained a very small project-based kind of activity. It was in 2002 that government realized that disaster management, if it is to be done and the casualties have to be reduced, there has to be a better ministry to coordinate the response and other aspects of the disaster management, and the allocation of business rules were amended in 2002 to bring the disaster management subject from Ministry of Agriculture to Ministry of Home Affairs. And in 2003, when it came to, in 2002 when the subject came to Ministry of Home Affairs, in 2003, instead of a center, government created a National Institute of Disaster Management in 2003. And 2005 Act further gave statutory duties to the institute, and it got the backing of a Act of Parliament in 2005, which was notified as a statutory operation in 2006. The institute later on gradually we built our campus in Delhi, main campus, and 2014 Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act. There was a commitment by Government of India to create a National Institute of Disaster Management in the south, in Andhra Pradesh. And as to fulfill its promise, 2016, Government of Andhra Pradesh was requested for allotting land, and in 2016, because of the cooperation by Government of Andhra Pradesh, we got this 10 acres of land here. And 2018, then Honorable Vice President of India laid the foundation stone for institute was allotted, and the foundation stone was laid by then Chief Minister as well as the Vice President of India. And in 2023, we completed our first phase, and there were additional works which were allocated to the institute, which has just been completed in 2024, and now the campus is fully functional. And in a short period of last 1 year, when the first phase was completed, the institute started working and has conducted quite a few courses also. In addition to the mandate given under Disaster Management Act, Section 42(9), where the institute has been mandated for enhancing capacity, documentation, research, policy support, human resource development, etc. So, in addition to the mandate given by the Section 42(9) under Disaster Management Act, where the institute is conducted, there is an additional mandate which is coming in the context of changing scenario of disaster management at a global and national level. Next slide, please. In that context, it is Honorable Prime Minister of India gave a 10-point agenda in 2016 in the Asian Ministerial Conference. So that is again another, in addition to the Disaster Management Act, that has become an additional mandate for us to see that the vision of Honorable Prime Minister, which is very transformative and which is even globally recognized, is carried forward to the last mile in each state. Similarly, SFDR means Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, which was a very landmark international agreement in 2015 by various countries, where India was also a signatory, and there was a major thrust given to mainstreaming disaster. 4 priorities globally were listed under Sendai Framework, that how the globally we have to, because with the climate change, the intensity and frequency of the disaster is going to increase, and therefore how we can give a systematic response. Similarly, Sustainable Development Goals also is one of the pillars of our mandate, and another one recent initiative by Government of India is the Capacity Building Commission and Mission Karmyogi, under which the Prime Minister has given a vision for all the training institutions, that in which direction a training institution should go. There should be online modules, how you can leverage technology, and also how the training institution should be reformed. And I am very happy to share with all of you that in the very first attempt, the NIDM was recognized as being accredited by Capacity Building Commission as Institute of Ati-Uttam category in a very first attempt. And our endeavor is to further improve on this journey. Next, please. The institute has an institute body which is headed by Honorable Home Minister of India. Sir, there is a governing body of the institute which is headed by Vice Chairman of NDMA, and on the day-to-day functions is given to the executive director under overall guidance of Ministry of Home Affairs and governing body, which gives the directions and the mandate to, as per the given mandate, the NIDM has to function. We have 7 academic divisions, including governance and inclusive DRR. Basically, currently 6, another 7 in terms of the social behavioral change we have recently added. Governance and inclusive DRR, disaster response and recovery, geometeorological risk management, resilient infrastructure division, CBRN, that is chemical, biological, radiational and nuclear emergency related, industrial and cyber risk management, and environmental disaster risk management, ERDM. We are supported by small team of administration, training, account maintenance, library and IT systems. Despite very we do not we leverage the state's capacity, we leverage the different sectors and see that how disaster management can be mainstream into their sectors, and with a very dedicated small team we have been able to make a very significant difference in the country's disaster risk resilience or risk mitigation capacity building related framework. And some of the achievements of the institute. So we conduct various kinds of training programs which are often focused on improving quality of training by we have introduced a new method, policy of weightage and etc. So I just quickly now onwards I'll take a very quick journey through various activities, because I don't want to overburden with your other information, because I know that press people after 5 o'clock they get restless for going and feeding into their channel. So whatever is the time, I have a lot of material, but I will try to be shorter in terms of so we are also having real-time feedback of our training. Every session which is done, we get a real-time feedback about our training systems. We do a training need assessment annually with all stakeholders, and based upon all the states' consultation, we decide at what areas have to be focused more in which region. We also are in the process of our third-party evaluation so that we can get more insight into our functioning. Next, please. We are also focusing largely, as I told you, that we do not believe that everything has to be done by us. Sendai framework says that mainstream disaster risk reduction. The climate action and disaster risk reduction are such subjects. The disaster response has to be with the NDRF, but disaster risk reduction cannot be a one single department. As Honorable Prime Minister always says that it has to be a whole of government approach. So in the same way, we believe that DRR mainstreaming, every department, every ministry has to be involved, and in their policies and programs, it has to become a main mantra of that. So we are engaged with various ministries and departments to see that. Similarly, national level training institutes, also we are coordinating with that, how their professionals, when they are young, they can be trained into disaster risk reduction. We are also engaging with the state SDMAs and administrative training institutes by building capacity of their staff, so that when they conduct their training programs, they can give focus on the disaster management. Next, please. We provide the policy support to government. Some of the examples of that during G20 there is an area in new technologies. We are working with the DPIIT to see that patent system, how the patents related to disaster and climate can be expeditiously examined so that they can benefit. Similarly, we are also, after COVID, we came with a 5-tier module about public health emergencies and disaster management that is building the capacity of the nation and ensuring that the lessons learned during COVID, they are mainstream into our health system and other stakeholders. We are also working with the cultural department. Sometimes you may be, we have a very rich cultural heritage in South India and many other parts of the country. Our ancient heritage, many times if there is a seismic activity or super cyclonic kind of thing, we may lose that. We are in the process of working with IGNCA and other organization of culture ministry by advocating that please do digitization of these structures So if there anything gets damaged, we can recreate. Not only our tangible cultural assets, but intangible cultural assets are equally our songs, our folklore. There may be a Telugu artist who may be a great storehouse of the folk song and that wisdom. That person itself is a resource. How we can digitize his knowledge and this thing is also our focus. We have also do's and don'ts. We have brought out in all the important languages, including Telugu. That is our recent publication, so that simply our college student, our school going student, and other things, they can know key disasters and what are the do's and what are the don'ts. So we are trying to make our footprint into regional languages so that the last mile capacity gap can be bridged. Next, please. We are, in the year 23-24, we have created 15 by the new modules or updated them, and 5 modules are under publication. We have more than 70 such modules, and we publish them on our website, and we encourage everybody to download them and make use of that. Next, please. We have a state-of-the-art library in the north district as well as we are creating. Next, please. We have various publications we bring out. In Disaster and Development is a journal, a scientific journal that we bring out. We have a quarterly this magazine called Tidings, in which we give our 3 months activities which are given every 3 quarterly. It is brought out. We are also undertaking improving our publication quality by using latest state-of-the-art softwares like Turnitin, etc., which are very strong in checking the plagiarism, including the chat GPT, etc., check that we are ensuring that our intellectual property is not compromised. We are also making external blind peer reviews. Quality assurance policy is introduced in the institute. There is an editorial advisory board constituted. There are QR codes that put up on each document. So, in anybody who comes to library and wants to carry that document with them, they can just at a click of button, they can carry that entire document with themselves if they want to read it. Thank you. Next, please. We also do documentation of the major disasters like Cyclone Biparjoy. There was a Karan Dam leakage in 2022 in Madhya Pradesh. And that was a success story of how they prevented a major disaster. So we similarly Cyclone Biparjoy, where there was a zero casualty in Gujarat. That the same intensity of cyclone in 1998, there were number of casualties was somewhere between 3,500 to 5,000 people. Different estimates show. But the same intensity of cyclone at the same, almost same place landfall point, but in this time when 2023, there is not even a single person who died in Biparjoy cyclone, which is a great success of vision of our Prime Minister and Home Minister of a zero casualty target. Similarly, archival records we are creating that we learn from the past history. So economically, socio-economically significant disasters and landslides, we have created an archival record. Manipur earthquake of 2016, Kashmir flood, Sikkim earthquake, these are some of the we have already completed. Some of other things we are under process. Next, please. We also do workshops to again mainstream DRR. Nearly 100 workshops were conducted in the year 2022 and 23. Next, please. We also do internal capacity of our staff. We believe that unless the organization's internal staff is motivated, both in terms of domain knowledge and non-domain skills, so large number of trainings are conducted for our own faculty, staff and other internally, so that they can become a really dedicated, motivated team to deliver resilient staff for a resilient India. Next. This is again a Honorable Prime Minister's 10-point agenda. The point number 6 was about creating knowledge network, and in compliance with that, we have more than 318 universities and institutions of the country. All the academicians we have brought on one single platform, and this transformative and visionary work is leading to a very change in the entire landscape of understanding disasters and bridging the gap between our researchers, academicians on one side, the policy makers on one side, and the practitioners on the third side. Many times when we make policy, we do not know what is the research that is happening in that area. When the researchers do research, they do not know what are the real questions of the disaster managers on which we should do. They sometimes do very narrow theoretical research without knowing the realities of the field. So we are trying to bridge this gap by this network, and this is a new incident, but I think it has a huge potential to transform the entire system, and no country in the world has created this kind of academic network. Even UN started, but I think they are only below 100 members or just cross 100. Next please. India Disaster Resource Network is another program where we are asking all the district collectors in the country to regularly update on a quarterly basis all the human and the other mechanical resources, so that in case of a major disaster and there is a response, NDRF requires a major mobilization of resources. We are also doing the geo-tagging of these resources now. We are changing our website to more geospatial data, so that if they can put a domain that, okay, there is a train accident and they want to see in this zone that how many cutters are there, they can immediately find out that these are the districts where these resources are there. There is an earthquake event in, let us say, North India, God save that it shouldn't be, but if there is anything happens, we can find out that where are the earth movers, and we have to mobilize 1,000 earth movers, where they will come from. So this network, you are seeing that constantly because of our efforts, the data entry is increasing year by year, showing that more and more compliance is there by the districts. Next. We are also believe, as I told in the beginning, that such a work which is mammoth cannot be done by any organization. We continuously believe in building new partnerships, and in last 1 year we have made 15 new MOUs and partnerships to see that how we can multiply the impact of the capacity building by leveraging the core capacities of other institutions, working in the partnership with them, breaking the silos of the each of the institute. Next please. So these are some of the ongoing projects enabling cities on disaster risk reduction with the GIZ and Germany's help. We are also doing high-cap national highway climate adaptation policy and guidelines and 2,000 kilometers of audit of the national highways, and giving recommendations that how in different risk zones we can change the codes of our highways so that less of landslide, less of damage to highways is there. We are also having international program of landslide for documentation of capacity building. We are in the South Campus, we are having child-centric disaster risk reduction center, which is doing training across the country on how the role of children. The children are the most vulnerable. How we can safeguard our children in normal time as well as during disaster. Similarly, these are some of the projects. Next please. So, I think this is just incidental. It is not that we try. Because of our work, our publicity is month by month we are increasingly becoming more visible and popular. Next please. Some of our achievements and initiatives is that we, as I already told, we got accredited by Capacity Building Commission in this year, 2024. In 23, we got the recognition at a global level by World Center of Excellence on Landslide Risk Reduction, by the 6th World Landslide Forum in Florence, Italy, National Center for Disease Control, and United Nations, USA's Center for Disease Control, CDC, recognized NIDM as a Center of Excellence on Public Health Emergencies and Disaster Management. 3 modules, basic for disaster management. There are a lot of IGOT. IGOT is a basically digital platform which Honorable Prime Minister with the Mission Karmyogi and Capacity Building Commission has launched. So we have already our 4 modules. Within last 3 months, more than 8,000 people have taken training from NIDM module on online module, and more than 2,000 people have got their certificates in a matter of 3 months. Social and behavioral change, we believe that knowledge is necessary but not sufficient to save lives. Many times our NDRF or IMD, they give a warning during disaster that there is a cyclone coming, please evacuate. But we see that some of the places response is very good, but other places it is not that good. What is the reason? Because people's perception of risk is very different, and we have to bring about a change in their behavior and attitude. So it is not only the knowledge and dissemination of knowledge, the receiving end Also we have to work, and which we are constantly, our endeavor is to work with the last mile, the most vulnerable people, the women, the children, the disabled people, the transgenders and other categories of people. Also we are giving a huge focus. So similarly, next please. So these are some of the good governing initiatives that we have completely, our organization is on e-office, there is no physical work done in organization. EHRMS, NIC, this thing, all websites and portals, or NIC Cloud, etc. We are also working on cyber security with other stakeholders and within the organization. Next please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your very explicit overview of NIDM. May this marvelous institute grow from strength to strength. May I request DG, NDRF, ED, NIDM, and all of the officers in the rest to kindly unveil the annual NDRF newsletter this year.
मोहसिन भी आइए आप मोहसिन
Thank you.
Thank you, sirs. So with this, now the house is open for interaction with the media. May I request you to kindly pose your questions to NDRF or NIDM education. Thank you.
We will not talk much about tomorrow's auditing MDA, so that is going to be very
Good evening, friends. Nice to connect with all of you today. And we had a very detailed presentation about NDRF. So I will not say anything more about NDRF. I will leave the house open for you. So you are most welcome to shoot questions. And we'll try to give you the best possible answers. And in case, somebody, because we have some officers, because I and my officers, we can only speak Hindi and English. So we have made arrangement for, we have one of our officers who can good to interact with you. Thank you.
Sir, there are borewell accidents. 50% of why only 50% of success in borewell accidents? Why only 50% of success?
Across the country. So we have a history of various disasters in the country which has been highlighted, and all of you are well aware of that. So after tsunami, Disaster Management Act was formed, and National Disaster Response Force, NIDM, National Disaster Management Authority were also established, so that there is a single point coordination for handling disaster in the country, and this was brought under the sphere of Ministry of Home Affairs. Next please. So currently in India, we have three levels of three levels of power structure where disaster is being handled. At national level, Government of India, at the national level, we have different agencies which are responsible for this. And yes, primarily disaster is the state subject. The state has to respond to various type of disasters. So state has also now various structure in place under this Disaster Management Act, followed by at the district level where this
Emphasize the point. In 2010, Honorable Supreme Court of India had issued detailed guidelines about what is to be done and what is not to be done in a borewell. So that have been circulated to all the states. So if I were to request everybody, because we all know that all these borewells are being drilled by somebody in our neighborhood. So I'll take this opportunity and request all these people to at least be careful about the borewell which you have dug. There are certain precautions which can be taken once you cap a borewell, so that one should take, so that we can save these children from those unfortunate deaths.
Can any simultaneous activity be done with district level officers to do the capping the borders?
That's what I suggested, that the directions of Honorable Supreme Court, they have been circulated again and again. We have again requested NDMA to recirculate them. The directions are from year 2010, that's about 14-year-old. So again, all these actions have to be done by the district administration.
District administration in relation with NDRF?
NDRF, you would have noticed during our presentations and during the presentation of ET NIDM, we are a response force. So we will come into action when there is a information, and that too subject to a situation that we are closer by. If the borewell is about 400 kilometers away from, say, Vijayawada, so we all know the travel time will be about 8 to 10 hours. So there is no way we can reduce the travel time. So I get your point. The reaction has to be supervised by the district administration, because they control everything. They have to ensure that the instructions of the Honorable Supreme Court are followed in letter and spirit. That is my request to all the district administration officials who might be listening to this conversation.
Until the borders are capped,
So I just, with permission of DG, this was in the year 2009 that Chief Justice of India, K.G. Balakrishnan, took a slow note of this of the legal tradition bringing to its notice on the spread of such accidents and initiative. In 2010, the detailed guidelines from Supreme Court came into being, and some of the important features of this guideline, which Honorable DG was referring to, was include setting up a barbed wire fencing around the well during construction, using a steel plate cover fixed with the bolts over the well assembly and filling up the borewell from the bottom to the ground level, among others. Even in Tamil Nadu, as Commissioner of Disaster Management, we encourage our collectors to see that those borewells which were in the area where water contamination is there, to seal them and to bury them. Those borewells which are in the areas where water contamination is not there but good rainwater is there, they can be converted into water recharging structure by covering and giving jali and other thing. Today, one of the biggest challenges is that our groundwater resource, precious water resource is getting depleted very fast. We are going continuously into dark zone in majority of our blocks. And on other side, there is so much of surface runoff water and tragic incident of the children. So on one side, the tragic incident of children can be avoided, and on other side, we can have huge water can be pumped back to our aquifer to recharge and bring the ground level better, in which farmers can stay. I think it is so. It will be unfair to expect that our response should be good. Our focus should be that how we can prevent these actions, and I think a lot of work can be done by various level of governance in the states by coming together, and it is doable.
That is what I am telling, sir.
First of all, congratulations, sir. You are celebrating 20th Rising celebration, taking this celebration.
Thank you.
Before all,
Okay,
I think your quota is over.
Any major challenges is there in front of NDRF or NIDM? Number one. Number two, what is the plan now, way forward?
So you have two parts in your question. One is the challenges. Every operation is a challenge. We have made it our mantra that we should be responding at the earliest. I mean, there are no questions asked about that. Am I audible? Then the challenges come in the travel time, because we all know that whenever, as I mentioned in the borewell case also, the scene of reaction, the scene of response may be 200 km away, maybe 300 km away. So the travel time is definitely a challenge. At times, whenever there is a disaster, you think of a waterborne disaster, there is a cyclone, there is a flood, then there is a high probability that the roads will be devastated, the road traffic will be slow. So that again is a major challenge. So we know these challenges. We are again in touch with the state government. We request from them from a clean corridor. And again, I mean, NIDM mentioned about whole of a government approach. So I'll give you an example, because you all, I believe, belong to Vijayawada, and Vijayawada had very bad floods 4 months back. So 25 NDRF teams were deployed, and 13 of these teams were airlifted from various locations within the country, and that happened within a very short time. So that is the example of whole of government approach. The challenge is that enough force may not be available at a particular location. The response or the reply, basically the way out is that we pool our resources all over the country. We requested the Air Force, they gave us the air support, and we were able to airlift the teams from all over the country, from Patinda, from Agartala, from Patna, and they were there in Vijayawada in no time, and we were able to respond to that. So that is basically the challenge part. The second part was the way ahead. We definitely, as was mentioned by Mr. Mundela in his presentation, every operation is a learning experience. We gave you some details about the operation in Wayanad. I mean, that was a very bad operation, because we means as a country, we lost more than 260 people, and there were a lot of people who are still untraced. So the number comes to more than 290 plus. So that's a huge loss of human life. There we realized that we have a weakness. We do not have dogs which can sniff a dead body under a rubble. So that was a challenge for us. We learned from that experience, and now we have started a training program for our K9 squad, that is a dog squad, so that they can sniff out cadavers, sniff out dead bodies whenever there is a rubble. That is something which is a learning experience. So this is just an example. Every operation, every major operation which we undertake, we have an exercise that after the operation is over, we do a debriefing, we learn, and how we can take it forward. Mr. Bundela gave you some examples about the innovations. So that is again, because what I need, my people know it best. So we encourage our own people to innovate. So there are some of the innovations that they have devised. I mean, they may appear too simple, but then they are actually simple, but then nobody thought of them before that. So these are the innovations. We want that we should encourage more of them. Another thing which we see the road ahead is that we should equip ourselves. We should improve our specification, improve our equipment profile. So that again we have taken a task for ourselves. Every equipment, we all know technology is changing. All of you are using mobile phones. Every 6 months there is a new model of a mobile phone. That may not happen so fast with technical equipment, but then we also take an exercise that ensure that whatever equipment we have, that should be the best. So that is, I think, what we are doing. That's the road ahead for all of us, at least within the NDRF.
What is the tomorrow's Amisha schedule?
So I think he would like to respond to the NIDM part.
Very briefly.
Your second part of your question regarding the challenges the NDRF has narrated. From NIDM perspective, and also from the disaster management fraternity, those who are the people who action doing. So one of the biggest challenge to humanity is the climate change, and that happens to be with NIDM also, because window of climate action is narrowing down. The temperature rise as compared to pre-industrial era. We have seen the 2024 as the hottest year, where first time it has crossed 1.5 degree as the pre-industrial era. I'm sure that this is not a trend, it's an aberration because of some factors, but it is very urgent for us to, this is one of the challenges that how we, Honorable Prime Minister always talks about whole of the government approach for, so that is how we are trying to do that, bringing every department, every sector into fold of climate action and DRR, because climate-induced disasters, including, for example, glacial lake outburst, we had 2 events in Sikkim and Uttarakhand, which were unprecedented earlier. So these kind of incidents, similarly the intensity of the disasters, whether they are cyclones or they are the floods, rainfall, this is increasing. So which is posing challenges both to NDRF in terms of response, that is posing challenges to all of the government, including NIDM in terms of the challenges in the capacity building, because the change turn in the event is much faster than before. Second challenge is the last mile capacity gap. We are an institute based in Delhi and South now. We have reached our first outside Delhi campus. So reaching ourselves to the last mile is a big challenge. We are leveraging the capacities of the states to reach out to them. We are engaged with the various ministries, including Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Women and Child Development, by seeing that by that we can reach out to the last mile capacity gap. Similarly, I already told about the, we want to move beyond the dissemination of knowledge. Capacity building cannot be just building capacity of few officers. It has to reach to the last mile, how our public in large not only gains meaningful knowledge related to the risk zone in which they are living, but also effectively and efficiently in a time-bound manner respond to that challenge. So by their actions, so this behavioral change, social and behavioral change is another challenge. I can list out n number of this thing, but there is a shortage of time. Despite all these challenges, we are coming up with the strategies to counter them. Yeah. Professor,
I would like to add actually something more.
Yeah.
In addition to what ED and NIDM, NDRF said, actually now we are also thinking of utilizing artificial intelligence, drones, geospatial technologies, and robotics also in the field of disaster management. These are new areas and emerging areas where we can get quick information. The other point I would like to also add on is, recently our India Meteorological Department has completed 150 years on 15th of January. That time, the Honorable Prime Minister also mentioned that we have to strengthen our early warning system. Through the early warning system, EDNIDM demonstrated we achieved the zero casualty during recorded cyclone. So we are strengthening our early warning system. We are preparing for unpredictable disasters and also utilizing modern technologies and emerging technologies for the disasters. Thank you.
Please say that again. I think we.
Vijayawada does not have sufficient force.
Vijayawada floods, you have no sufficient force and men.
Vijayawada floods during Vijayawada floods, there is not sufficient force.
I think what I can understand from your question that you wanted to know that number of people available to respond to Vijayawada floods was less. Is that the question? No, I mean, I think, let me just reiterate what I said before. Whenever there is a disaster, the first responder is the local state. Every state has a state police, they have their fire service, they have their volunteer organizations. Some of the states have SDRF. Incidentally, Andhra also has a very active SDRF. Telangana has just constituted SDRF. And then comes NDRF. So NDRF is not the first responder because as my IG mentioned in his presentation, that we have only 16 battalions and ours is a huge country, 140 crores. So we are only there as a support, in a support role. So as I told you before, 25 NDRF teams were deployed and 13 of them were airlifted from all across the country to respond to the flood disaster in Vijayawada in August end. So if you think that something else is amiss, I think then we'll have to sit down together with the other stakeholders Because one thing should be clear to all of us, that responding to disasters is a team effort. NDRF can no way claim that it has the monopoly of tackling disasters. We are only one of the team members who are active in this whole operation. Yes, we have a role to play. Apart from responding to disasters, as it was mentioned in our presentation, we are involved in increasing the capacity of SDRF. We train them a lot. We have also told them that whatever equipment is available with us, we have shared our specifications with the SDRF. If you want to buy, be our guest. So we are like basically a resource person to SDRF. But if somebody or some situation has to be responded to, then all these actors have to come together to play their part. So you cannot really expect NDRF to do all the heavy lifting in any situation. Just
ఏంటంటే ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో కెమికల్ యాక్సిడెంట్లు రిపీటెడ్గా జరుగుతున్నాయి సార్. మీరు కూడా విశాఖపట్నంలో పాల్గొన్నారు. దానికి కారణాలు ఏమైనా మీరు గుర్తించారా? ఏపీ గవర్నమెంట్ ఏమైనా అలర్ట్ చేశారా? రిపీట్గా జరగడానికి కారణాలు?
आंध्र प्रदेश में बार बार केमिकल इंसिडेंट्स हो रहा है, जैसे अभी विशाखापट्टनम में हुआ है, तो उसके बारे में क्या कहना है और आंध्र प्रदेश गवर्नमेंट को आप
Recently we had thought about this subject, and NIDM had steered the discussion on the first week of December, which was also concerning the 40 years of Bhopal tragedy, where we have called the Department of Chemical Fertilizers, we called the industry experts, we have called other stakeholders from NIDM and other organizations, and we have just tried to put across this point for greater efforts and focus on industrial accidents to reduce them. And one of the, I am also happy to know that Government of Andhra Pradesh has approached Government of India recently. Even your secretary has written a letter to us. She has formed a consultation committee, a high-level committee. I nominated Professor Surya Prakash in that committee to see that how Andhra Pradesh can better respond to the emerging chemical disaster scenarios. And we are also in discussion with, we had sent a proposal to Ministry of Chemical and Fertilizers last year, telling that in the major chemical clusters, NIDM is ready to leverage India University Institution network capacity and conduct the training in those clusters. If Andhra Pradesh wants, we can, our NIDM South campus will be also, we are in discussion with them that how this campus also can bring in the chemical experts from various universities, conduct the training near to those clusters where the chemical clusters are there. So we are constantly in discussion to support, to avert the chemical disasters. They should not happen, and in case they happen, DG sir is here to see that how they can support the response part.
आपके डिपार्टमेंट को कुछ इशू हुआ तो कैसा आपको बोलना है? पहले ग्राउंड लेवल में आप वहाँ से आपको पता चलने से 1 आवर ज़्यादा है टाइम, उस टाइम में आपको डायरेक्ट मिल सकते हैं क्या? कुछ कॉन्टैक्ट नंबर जैसे टोल फ्री नंबर
NDRF का टोल फ्री नंबर है।
मैं हिंदी में बोलूँ या इंग्लिश में बोलूँ?
आपकी मर्जी।
नहीं, जो आपने क्वेश्चन आपने हिंदी में पूछा तो मैं हिंदी में जवाब दूंगा. English? Okay. This is one point where NDRF is proud. I'll say we are proud of the fact that we are just a phone call away. I always claim it at every level. The local officer, it may be a SHO, it may be a SDM, it may be a DC, it may be anybody, but a local officer, he has contact numbers of our battalion. He just has to call him, the commandant or his deputy commandant operations. Just a phone call with some details, Google location and the contact number of the person who has to be approached. And the first team is out within 20 minutes. That's something we are very proud of the fact. So there's no need for a toll-free number. I mean, they already are aware of those numbers. I hope, am I able to communicate what I wanted to say?
Sir, 112 you can also.
So we already are, the number of our commandants are already available on our website, but the people who are there in the field, I mean the local SDM, the deputy, I mean you already have a SCOC within the state headquarters. The numbers are there. So they are already there.
हमारा शेड्यूल चाह रहा है अमित शाह जी
एक बार दोबारा प्लीज़ बोल दीजिए क्या क्वेश्चन है आपका। हाँ, कल जो कार्यक्रम है माननीय गृह मंत्री जी का, तो उनके कार्यक्रम में वो सबसे पहले NIDM के साउथ कैंपस का उद्घाटन करेंगे। ये नया कैंपस बना है। उसके बाद वो NDRF का जो हमारा 10 बटालियन का जो परिसर है, कैंपस आया है, वहाँ उसका उद्घाटन करेंगे। उसके बाद वो जो कुछ और इंस्टीट्यूशंस बने हैं पूरे जगह में, और जैसे हमारा एक RRC बना है सुपौल, ये बिहार में, या एक हमारा RRC बन रहा है गोरखपुर में, या NPA में एक जो उनका शूटिंग रेंज का शिलान्यास है वो रखेंगे, और एक जो तिरुपति में स्टेट फॉरेंसिक लैब है वो उसका भी शिलान्यास वो रखेंगे वर्चुअली। These travel program, I think the state government is in a best position to let you know. So you will have to check with the state security department. No, nothing unofficial. I can only tell you something which is official. Look, my friend, my mandate is limited to NDRF. So rest everything is security concerns and the protocol department of the state. So I cannot really transgress into their jurisdiction. I hope you will appreciate that. Most probably he will be there by today evening.
By today evening, we'll share in the concerned WhatsApp.
I think ADG PIB is mentioning, please.
Some channels said that he would be attending a dinner hosted by the Chief Minister. So these kind of things are coming unofficially. Why don't they come officially so that we can
The official function details will be shared by today evening in your WhatsApp. It will be shared.
Please, can you just take the mic? दूसरा माइक दे दीजिए प्लीज।
स्विच ऑन करना होगा। स्पीक लाउडर।
I think, can you just wait?
क्या चीज जो है जो आने वाला कस्टम करेंगे आप सीख रहे हैं उसके बारे में सीखने के लिए कुछ कंबाइंड ट्रेनिंग चल रहा है सर आपका?
देखिए, ये जो NDRF का मैंडेट है वो सभी तरीके के डिज़ास्टर के लिए है, चाहे वो नेचुरल हो या है, दोनों डिज़ास्टर, चाहे वो मैन मेड हो या नेचुरल हो। तो जो डिज़ास्टर्स IG साहब ने अपने प्रेजेंटेशन में दिखाए थे वो आपने देखे होंगे। तो ज़्यादातर डिज़ास्टर आपके फ्लड वाले, साइक्लोन वाले, लैंडस्लाइड वाले, अर्थक्वेक वाले, ये मैन मेड हैं। बट जो एक इन्होंने बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट इशू बताया था CBRN, वो जनरली आप ये मान के चलिए कि वो मैन मेड नहीं है, वो नेचुरल नहीं है, वो जनरली मैन मेड है। तो हम लोग की प्रयास ये रहता है कि हमारी ट्रेनिंग हम लोग जो अपनी टीम्स को देते हैं वो सभी चीज़ों की ट्रेनिंग देते हैं, और उसके अलावा जब एक बेसिक ट्रेनिंग सब लोगों को दे देते हैं तो फिर स्पेशलाइज ट्रेनिंग अलग अलग लोगों को देते हैं, ताकि वो उस चीज़ में थोड़े ज़्यादा स्पेशलाइज हो जाएं, ताकि अगर वक्त पड़ेगा तो उसको हम लोग जहाँ पे भी ज़रूरत होगी वी कैन यूज़ द पर्सन। हाँ, मैंने आपको ये बताया ना कि CBRN इज़ वन सच एस्पेक्ट जो हम ये मान के चलते हैं कि कोई आदमी जिसको जो हमारे देश के बारे में जिसके विचार अच्छे नहीं है वो वही करेगा। अब दूसरी बात जो आप शायद पूछना चाह रहे हैं वो ये है कि हम लोग इसी के साथ साथ जो मैं अगेन आई विल लाइक टू सीक योर हेल्प and maybe request all the citizens who are watching all this media interaction, that there are certain things which we request and basically want that citizens of the country should help us do it. Because as NIDM has also mentioned, Honorable Prime Minister has said it very clearly in his 10-point agenda, that we have to take preventive actions to increase our disaster resilience. हमें अपने देश को डिज़ास्टर के हिसाब से को देखने के लिए मजबूत बनाना है। तो उसमें हम लोग जो कर रहे हैं वो अभी IG साहब ने बताया था, वी आर इंटरेक्टिंग विद द कम्युनिटी, वी इंटरेक्टिंग विद द स्कूल चिल्ड्रन, we are training SDRF, we are training volunteers, we are training civil defense. But all the citizens, all of you would have children going to schools, you would have known that every school, every curriculum has some portion of disaster. So all of us can take certain precautions. We know where we are living. We know what disaster is possible in our area. So we should have some basic idea about how some things can be done. I mean, there's one example I'll take. We all know that in case you're living in an area which is close to a riverbed, and you all know that the river has a probability of flooding. So we obviously we know that in case there is a flood, so we should evacuate the area and go to a higher point. So normally there's a very robust system. There's a community alert protocol. We should actually thank our scientific agencies, IMD, CWC, NREC. The predictions have become too good. But once you have a prediction that there's a probability of flood in an area X, now it is incumbent upon the people who are living in that area to listen to that warning and to go to a higher place so that they can avoid the full burst of the flood which is coming. So that is one thing I'll request all the citizens to basically listen to these warnings and to take them seriously, so that the purpose is to avoid human loss. Property loss, yes, because there's a property there, there's a flood. Not much can be done about it. You can make the property stronger so that the loss is reduced, but that cannot happen overnight. But at least you can leave the place, go to a higher place, and at least save the lives. So that is one thing I'll request all of you who are watching this telecast to at least help us reduce human life loss in any disaster.
In the presentation, it was told that you are also trying to offer the services to save the cultural heritage, vulnerable cultural, for example, if you take Western civilization, how can we protect it from any natural disaster or a calamity? The existing relics of Indus Valley civilization, have you?
Yeah, we had a nationwide workshop last year in our place, Jodhpur, where all the district cultural ministries came. And we have drawn a roadmap that for the technical cultural aspect, there is a need for making the disaster management plans. We have given certain templates, we have conducted training, and we are also constantly engaged with the Ministry of Culture. Also, as a part of that disaster management plan, one step is to understand for the technical assets, their design and other aspects to be digitized. So this first thing that how to minimize impact of disasters. Second thing, if the disaster destroys them, at least we are able to recreate our cultural heritage. There should be some backup with us. So we are working with the Ministry of Culture on that.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you, friends. Thank you very much.
NIDM to kindly present both of them. Please be seated. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of National Institute of Disaster
across the country. So we have a history of various disasters in the country which has been highlighted, and all of you are well aware of that. So after tsunami, Disaster Management Act was formed, and National Disaster Response Force, NIDM, National Disaster Management Authority were also established so that there is a single point coordination for handling disaster in the country, and this was brought under the sphere of Ministry of Home Affairs. Next, please. So currently in India, we have three levels of power structure where disaster is being handled. At national level, Government of India, at the national level, we have different agencies which are responsible for this. And yes, primarily disaster is the state subject. The state has to respond to various type of disasters. So state has also now various structure in place under this Disaster Management Act, followed by at the district level where district collector is the nodal officer for handling the disaster. Next, please. So next. NDRF was established in 2006 after this DMI, and we started with 8 battalions, and these battalions came from various paramilitary force, and currently NDRF has 16 battalions, and we are located at 68 locations in the country at present. So one of the battalions which you are witnessing the inauguration of the campus tomorrow by the Honorable Home Minister, that is located at Vijayawada, where we are sitting right now. Next please. Next. Next. So we handle lot of disasters of various categories. So both type of disaster, whether it is natural disaster or man-made disaster. So NDRF has experience and expertise in handling flood disasters. As we had witnessed unprecedented flood in Vijayawada last year, NDRF was extensively utilized by the state government, apart from various other stakeholders who were managing the flood water rescue last year in Vijayawada. We also handle urban search and rescue operations wherever there is a building collapse or any disaster because of earthquake. NDRF teams are trained to handle that. The prime responsibility is to rescue the victims as fast as possible. Third, the most important, one of the important disaster expertise is CBRN, that is chemical, biological, radiological and nuclear emergencies. In this case of if it is a gas leakage or any radioactivity incident is there, so primary responsibility may lie with the state police or SDRF depending upon the location, but NDRF with its expert team will also respond to such emergencies whenever requested by the state government. And we also, part of this urban search and rescue is that we also respond to high-rise disasters and to mountain disasters also. So we have a specially trained team deployed in mostly in the north of India, and trained teams are also located in other parts of the country also. If in case of mountain rescue, our teams can also be deployed to evacuate and rescue the affected citizens, and which we have witnessed last year in Kullu flash flood or any emergency in Uttarakhand also, we have been extensively deployed. Forest fire is a new mandate we have got for NDRF. Recently 3 teams have been raised in Uttarakhand, Andhra Pradesh and Assam. And medical first response is the basic job. All of us are trained for MFR because if we are handling any victim, we have to give first aid in the spot only, and later on they have to be evacuated to the hospital. Next please. So we have different type of training depending upon the expertise we want to create. It's a basic course. All of us in NDRF have to complete that basic course. Then we do advanced course or a specialized course depending upon what type of expertise we want to develop. So this training is not only internal, but we also train other agencies like State Disaster Response Force, Civil Defense, Home Guards. So depending upon the requirement of the state government also, we train other agencies also. Next please. So NDRF currently has 16 battalions at 16 locations across the country, and we have one NDRF Academy in Nagpur. So this is a new campus is also coming up, and NDRF Academy is more oriented towards building the expert instructors or trainers for NDRF and for other stakeholders also. So that is a very important institute for us. Like NIDM we have here, we have NDRF Academy at Nagpur. Next please. So this is the overall operational achievement since raising. So if you see that number of operations is more than 10,500 we have done, and lot of human lives have been rescued, evacuated from danger. So this job is keeping us busy all the time. Every year we are engaged in different type of disaster profile in the country. Next please. So if we come to 2024, this is the first time where NDRF has crossed the limit of 1,000 operations in a year. So earlier, as per the previous data, we were not engaged in more than 1,000. So the number of deployment of NDRF has increased. Number of duration of deployment of NDRF has also increased. And current data also suggests that the number of days of deployment and number of districts and states we are covering under flood, it is increasing. Every year it is increasing. So flood is one of the disaster which most of the states are getting affected, and where we see the maximum deployment of NDRF personnel also. So we are also engaged in retrieving the dead bodies from the disaster area, as well as for saving the livestock also. That is also one of the charter. As part of community engagement, we do community awareness program a school safety program. We get involved with the children of the school because they are future rescuers also, and we do a lot of mock exercise where we coordinate with the district machinery district collector for organizing the mock exercise depending upon the vulnerability of the district also. Next please. So this is the just to highlight various type of disasters where we are getting deployed number of operations. Bigger states definitely have more deployment compared to smaller states. Next please. So just to have an idea, though fonts are little small, I am sorry for that. This, if we see the figure, in the drowning operations we are deployed more. Because drowning is a single incident, only one life may be affected, and most of the time if we are getting involved in drowning operation, it is the retrieval of the dead body. And second most important deployment is flood rescue, where the duration and we get engaged for more than 2 months. If we take out the average mortality, we are really getting occupied with flood response incidents for a longer period of duration also. So apart from that, landslide is there, gas leakage is there, urban search and rescue where building has collapsed. Those deployments are also very frequent, and repeatedly we are getting engaged in that. Next please. Now coming to the different type of disasters, I would like to highlight 3 cyclones which we had faced in year 2024. Remal cyclone, where eastern part was affected, West Bengal, Tripura and Assam, and 16 NDRF teams were deployed. And then Dana cyclone in October 2004, again the similar part, Odisha, West Bengal, Jharkhand and Andhra Pradesh. And if you see the 42 NDRF teams were deployed, that's a huge number. So that state doesn't have so much of teams, but we had evacuated our teams from other states also. From Punjab also we had taken teams to do. And central machinery like Air Force also gets extensively engaged in that. And because of that, there is a QCA deployment once there is a threat assessment because of the incoming cyclone. Fengal cyclone in the southern part again, which had affected Tamil Nadu, Puducherry and Andhra Pradesh. We had deployed 14 teams in the rescue operation. Next please. So landslide incidents are frequent. It might be increasing because of the change in pattern of the rain, and the main problem with the landslide is that it cannot be predicted. We have the vulnerability profile, but when the landslide will start, it is still scientifically not very clear. So Mizoram, Kedarnath was a serious landslide. There were deaths also. Our team were engaged in taking out the pilgrims from that area. And Shimla cloudburst had affected a lot of population also, and we were extensively engaged in that also. Next please. So Bernard, it was extensively covered because of the nature of landslide. It had washed away many houses, villages, and helmets also. So this also shows that even prediction was there. Heavy rainfall prediction was there. Local public was aware that there will be heavy rainfall, and there was a rainfall going on. But that would result into a landslide of such a scale, it was not clear. So our team was stationed in Wayanad. Unfortunately, we responded within 30 minutes. Then a lot of state and central government machinery came into the rescue operation here. So one good thing which I had noticed during that visit, local community awareness program helps, because those some people who were aware of the warning, they had shifted from there, and their houses were totally washed away, but they were saved because of this warning system. They had moved out from that area, and otherwise more life could have been lost. Next please. So flood is a regular problem during monsoon, and state governments have a coordination meeting with all the collectors, SDRF, NDRF in advance before monsoon, and we do deploy our NDRF team, which we call pre-deployment before flood starts, because we have the history of floods in certain districts, so that pre-deployment is already there. We had responded to some of the major flood situation in the country was in Imphal, and Tripura, Gujarat. Imphal, it's not a regular feature, but last year there was a massive flood and they need reinforcement from outside, so our team had also gone there. Next, please. Andhra Pradesh flood, if you see that there was a breach in the river and this whole almost a lot of city was submerged and a lot of teams were sent for responding and if you see 13 teams were airlifted because considering the situation it was not possible to send the teams by road. So these teams had come with the boat and other equipments to rescue the citizen from the flood affected area. And this operation continued for some time. And this also shows the vulnerability of our city getting affected by urban flooding also. Next, please. Again, West Bengal, it was affected. 22 NDRF teams were engaged last year. And Bihar flood, Bihar also sees a recurrent flood. Bihar, eastern part of you, because of flood water coming from the Nepal side or local rains also. Next, please. So when I talk about the flood, basically the deployment is for a very long duration because it takes time and there's an evacuation, then our team remains standby to assist the district administration. So that's a very long duration commitment for our force. So collapse, search and rescue operation, structural collapse search and rescue operation or urban search and rescue operation in terms of building collapse. We have responded to many incidents. Some of the incidents have been highlighted here. Roopnagar in Punjab, where we could rescue 2 persons. Mumbai, again, this collapse of billboard, which was highlighted very extensively in the media. We were involved in rescue of 3 persons. Jharkhand building collapse, we had rescued 7 persons. So I would like to mention during the building collapse, it takes a lot of time to identify, search and get access to the building because we have to cut the structure, steel structure, send a man or take out the victim from there who is already injured. So this is a job of lot of skill and patience to get the victims out of the danger zone safely. Next, please. Varanasi again, some of the incidents, photos have also been mentioned there. Varanasi, Karol Bagh in Delhi, and these are the incidents where we were able to rescue those who were under threat or surviving inside the rubble. We were able to save victims also. Next, please. Train accident. Unfortunately, it's a very unfortunate situation, but we are trained to respond to train accident also. So Darjeeling, we had gone there, 3 teams were deployed, but that was not a major accident and 3 dead bodies were retrieved also. Next, please. Borewell ups, lot of some of the states which are predominantly affected are like Rajasthan, MP, UP, and very few incidents luckily in South India. But the life is only 1 person is affected, but the problem is that we are aware that the victim is alive and how quickly and safely we can take out that live person or live child from the bowel remains a challenge. So we have done a lot of our own internal R&D. We have developed devices also which we use. No single device is a foolproof method, but we try to have all the options available with us and try to rescue the child which is trapped inside the bowel. Next, please. CBRN, this is a technical expertise. We do a lot of training and we are really supported by DRDO, Department of Atomic Energy in Mars in Delhi. And we have a specialized trained team to respond to various gas leakage incidents. And some of the examples are we have responded to gas leakage, LPG gas leakage in Aurangabad, ammonia gas leakage at Jalpaiguri in 2024. Next, please. Next. Chemical leakage, where there was a fire in the factory also at Anakapalli, Andhra Pradesh, and CBRN team was also involved there. Next, please. So Mahakumbh, every 12 years, lot of pilgrimage visit areas. So UP government has an extensive arrangement in terms of security, crowd control, law and order, and NDRF has also been deployed because we have expertise in flood water rescue in terms of flood water. And secondly, for our CBRN incident, if any CBRN incident happens, so we are able to respond to that, to tap that incident from where this leakage of gas or anything is incident, or in case of requirement evacuation of victims from that area. So currently we have 20 teams deployed there as a huge deployment, and that's a very sensitive and very challenging task for us. Currently we are already engaged there. Next please. So capacity building program, NDRF does lot of capacity building program at state and district level. So we have target for all our battalions in terms of school safety plan and community awareness plan, and we monitor those activities by the unit, and this also brings us closer to the community in the area also. Rescuers, they also do some genuine R&D, small innovations within the organization and battalion that becomes very helpful for us during disaster operation. If we are not buying it from the market. So some of them have been highlighted here. Next please. So like this OBM machine for the boat is very heavy, so we need wheels. So we have made this wheel so that